Hey guys, welcome back to the latest episode of the Growing a Dental Practice podcast. I am your host, Mike Hennon from Patient Boost. In today's episode, I'm joined by Steven Huskey, co-founder of Bluewater Dental Advisors, a financial advice firm for dental practice owners. Welcome to the show, Steven. Thanks for joining me today. How are you?
Things are good. I am snowed in Minnesota, right outside the Twin Cities. Here for a family trip. Supposed to fly out yesterday, but apparently we're having the snowstorm of the decade right now. So we leave tomorrow back to Charleston, South Carolina.
So fingers crossed you get on that flight, Steven. Did you say it was like up to your waist? Like it was up to your chest? Like it was like
Yeah,
there's a lot of
it's
snow.
it's it's still coming in, man. It's up to my chest. It's probably up to my head in a few hours. Like, who knows? Our flights tomorrow might be canceled, but that's the way it goes.
Okay, yeah, right. Fingers crossed you can get on that flight, get home. Because if you're like me, like I love seeing friends and family, but I always want to get home.
Exactly. A lot of work to be done.
Absolutely, man. But no, so right, so let's before we dig into financial advice and how you guys help your clients, just tell me a bit more about you, Stephen. Like, what's your background?
Great question, Mike. I appreciate it. I am from the Carolinas, so born in Charlotte, raised in Greenville, South Carolina, and then ended up in Charleston, where I finished school at College of Charleston. Started out pre-dental, actually, in my studies, and about 2.5 years in, I decided, medical and dental is not really for me from a practice perspective. So got a degree, got out of there in 4 years, and then joined a corporate banking firm. And I did that for about 9 years, various roles, a lot of retail, teller, banker, branch manager. And my last role there was in the private wealth division. And I learned a lot. I learned how to speak with people and learned how to uncover needs and talk to people about what they were really going for in their long-term future. And then that really interested me in creating my own financial practice where I could be more holistic. I could be much more comprehensive. I didn't really want to focus strictly on one product line. I wanted to go out and find what was best in the marketplace for my clients and then really solve the issues that business owners have, which is, making sure that their cash flow is optimal, retaining their best folks, and then the largest financial transaction of their lives, which there really is no dress rehearsal for, and that is the exit of their business and how to maximize the exit, the proceeds they get out of it, and what it's going to use in their next venture, how it's going to create either retirement or the ability to go into another business operation if they want to.
Fantastic, man. Awesome. So yeah, so plenty of experience. And
Mhm.
so what I'm curious about is, so you left dental or decided dental wasn't quite right for you. How did it then pull you back in? Like, what was it?
It's funny how that kind of came full circle.
Yeah.
After working with physicians for a while, my own private practice, Husky Financial, and then working with business owners a lot and getting my certified exit planning designation, I just knew that there was a big hole in the financial space for physicians wanting to exit. And then I looked even deeper at the dental specific market. And they always say, the riches are in the niches. Choose a good market that has a lack of a particular product or service or process that you can offer. And I found that there weren't a ton of folks speaking the same language that we were, especially around the dental field. And so we wanted to get in there and help these white collar professionals that have blue collar type businesses and really help them understand what was at stake as they grow their business. There's not a lot of financial or business education while they're going through school, so they're kind of just
Mhm.
doing this on their own, and they're listening to people who have done it before, finding out what works. But the landscape's always changing. So how do they stay on top of that? How do they stay educated? And that's where we come in with an educational approach and say, hey, here's what you can do, here's how you can get organized, and here's how you can maximize. Let's start working together.
Brilliant. Love that, man. Love that. Does it help having like a couple of years of like pre sort of dental school under your belt? Like, does that, or have you kind of like wiped that from memory?
Well, I think we all took the same biology classes, so I know a little bit
Hmm.
about biology. But then when I got to like the chemistry and all that stuff, it wasn't really my forte. And plus, being in Charleston, there was a party on every corner, so it was hard to stay focused.
Excellent. Love that. Love that.
Yeah.
So, me and you know, as a business, we both know as business owners that it can be quite easy to kind of get like sort of stuck in the weeds and like focus on it, like being in the business rather than being on the business, and other things get sort of let by the wayside. What are some areas of like finance that practice owners kind of overlook because they're so focused on kind of, you know, running the business and kind of like helping their patients, like their own finances, like what are those sort of areas?
Well, the average retirement age for dentists in the U.S. is around 69 years old, and it's a bigger number than the average retirement age of other medical professionals and business owners because they spend so much time putting more money back into the business. They are buying new equipment. They're trying to find tax write-offs, and so they sacrifice future cash flow for what they can get out of the money today. So that's one thing is, you know, why do they retire so late in life? It's because they don't have the right amount of assets that they can then retire on and have the same type of lifestyle that they're used to while they're working. And I think a lot of them also don't necessarily know how to articulate what the financial future looks like for them and their business and their family and their legacy and all of that. Um, so that's number one is, you know, how do you articulate what the financial future should look like for the dentist? And as soon as you get out, you know, what do you do? And then a lot of them, because they're so busy, like you mentioned, they put their heads down and work in the business instead of working on the business as much as they should. There's no real financial organization for the practice, for their personal balance sheet. And then, you know, a lot of them don't really understand the true value of their practice either. You know, they know what their house is worth. They may know what the building they're working out of is worth, and if they have a 401k, what the value of that is, but they don't really know the value of their greatest asset, which is the money machine, which is their business. And so that's the second thing is, you know, you got to know the value of everything you have and how to best protect it. And then a lot of dentists also don't know how to lead with a cash flow plan. You know, the business is the way that the dentist can pay their bills, reinvest for growth, optimize the flow in and out of the practice of money. And so if they know how to best use every dollar that comes into the practice to its highest and best use and maximize the potential for it, they can make confident decisions. A lot of them also don't necessarily know how to protect the business and grow via people. You know, so retention strategies are going to be very important for continuing to grow the practice. And most of them really focus on attracting new folks. But as we all know here in the States, it's hard to keep a really good dental hygienist or insurance coordinator or office manager there because they could get another dollar or another benefit across the street. So how do you grow via your best people? It's incentivizing, rewarding, and then retaining those people with a deferred type of plan. And so those are the types of things that we really focus on with these dentist business owners.
Oh, fantastic. So it's not just like the individual practice owner, you kind of help out with the entire company, the entire business.
Yeah, so we really want to get nitty gritty with the people who are working in the practice and find out, you know, what emotionally drives them to want to stay and work. You know, what gets them out of bed every morning and what gets them excited to save money and work on their futures. And how long do you want this important person, this key person in your business to stay on? And can you create a benefit that matches perfectly with that employee? I don't necessarily do the financial planning for those that work inside the practice on an employee level. We have junior advisors that do that, but we focus on what's best for the business owner, what's best for the business, and what's best for the cash flow.
Yeah, fantastic, man. That's awesome. And so I feel like this is a loaded question because it seems to me and you it seems obvious, but like, why would a dentist or a practice owner need financial advice from someone like yourself and not try and do it on their own? Like, what are the key points?
Well, I'll say first off, there's nothing wrong with trying to do it on your own. You're certainly more than welcome to do that. But if you know anything about, you know, time versus money, you know, do you want to spend all of your time understanding the intricacies of all the education that I've learned up to this point, which has been years and years of it? Do you want to make decisions that are founded on confidence in what you know, on actual financial principles, or do you want to just try to wing it and hope you're making the best decision? I feel like if you are a really good business owner, you know how to delegate, you know how to outsource properly, and we understand the industry jargon. We know the different pain points and highs and lows that practice owners go through. And so why not just bring in someone who understands your industry and can do a good job the first time and not make a lot of guesswork out of it?
Absolutely, because I can imagine there's a lot of jargon in the financial world.
Yeah, and in the dentist world too. A lot of acronyms I still don't know. I'm trying to figure them out.
Yeah, I think we all make we all think the other person understands all the acronyms, but it's not the case. No, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So I know you guys. So it's not just you, isn't it? At Bluewater Dental, you've got a business partner. Is that correct?
Yeah, his name's Brandon Wilson, and he's been in the financial industry for almost 20 years, and he's been working exclusively with business owners for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
We both have our strengths and weaknesses, and I think we mesh up really well. He's very good at talking to business owners, getting on their level, and he's nonchalant in his approach as well. He's not too serious. He's a funny guy, and I'm more, I don't want to say buttoned up, but I know when to insert my humor, and sometimes I don't do it often enough. But I feel like I'm a very motivated. I'm a go-getter. I don't let things slip through the cracks, and that's kind of where our yin and yang mesh well together.
Love it, brilliant. So I know you both came together to form Bluewater Dental. Your process for doing things, like, just let us know what that is. Like, I know you have is it a 5-point process or a 5-step process that kind of walks people through kind of how to plan, protect, and kind of grow their practice?
We do. And every step that we have in this 5-step process, which is proprietary to the Bluewater Dental Advisors, is we always look at each decision that we're going to make along the way with the end in mind. If you've ever read Stephen Covey's book around the 7 habits of highly successful folks, or people, however he frames it, is you got to plan with the end in mind. Is every decision you make today could impact your exit. So our 5-step process is, number 1, drafting a financial mission statement. And that's the articulation of what your financial future looks like for you, your business, and your family. Because if you don't have an end goal in mind, it's much harder to start making those positive steps toward the result that you're looking for. So drafting a financial mission statement, number 1. Number 2 is building your business owner blueprint. And that's where we gather as much data on the practice and on the family that we're working with to create financial organization and define its value so that you have a better plan for your future. Taking all the stuff out of the proverbial financial junk drawer and emptying it out and putting everything on one page so you can make empowered decisions. And then the third one is leading with the cash flow plan. So as we know, cash is super important to business owners. It's super important to families as they're building their assets and paying down their debts and all of that. So since cash is how a business pays its bills and reinvests for its own growth, a better understanding of how to optimize the flow of money into and out of your practice will empower you to make confident decisions. And the 4th step is, unfortunately, bad things can happen to good dentists. So we want to protect the business from what we call the 3 black swans. So that's, lawsuit, disability of the business owner, or premature death of a partner or a dentist inside of the practice. So we want to stress test the balance sheet to ensure that they're fully protected against the risks that business owners face on a day-to-day basis. And then the last one, which is honestly probably my favorite conversation, is growing via your people. So creating growth through attraction and retention of top-notch talent that fit the culture of your organization and the mission of your business and what you're overall trying to accomplish, rewarding the folks. And I think that a lot of people leave employers. They don't necessarily leave companies. So how do you best recognize the folks for the work that they're putting into your business? And how do you incentivize them to continue to help the business grow? And how do you retain that key employee group through your exit? Because that's really an attractive piece of what a buyer of that practice is going to want. And that's the continuity of the business.
Awesome, man. Yeah, that's fantastic. Really thorough 5-step process. What really stood out though is, why did you settle on the term black swans? Is that the water connection, or?
I don't know. I think if you hear about I could have said black cats, I guess, because they're the superstition. But I think black swans, everybody kind of gets that it's not a good thing, and how do you avoid it as best as possible? So it just makes sense.
Yeah, love it. No, fantastic. I just thought it's the water connection.
Oh, but that does make sense too. Yeah, right on the water.
No, yeah, right. You can reuse that. I'll give you that one for free.
Thanks, man.
But I totally get the Your last point, I think that's a well-known phrase, isn't it? People don't quit the job; they quit the manager. Or they don't quit the company; they quit the manager. Like it's that philosophy. So no, I love that. No, that's fantastic. And so we talked about kind of why a dental practice owner would probably take advice from an advisor like yourself. Why would it also make sense to like work with a financial advisor who understands dentistry? Like not just a generic sort of broad advisor. Like why does it make so much sense to work with someone like you and Brandon that understand the dental industry?
I think it's because it creates a cohesive process that is specific to the needs that dentists have and those that really understand the industry. I mean, you could go with an advisor who, specializes in all kinds of folks, but it's just like in our businesses, Mike, like you and I have businesses that we want to work a specific vertical or two so that we're not trying to be generic or everything to everyone. We really want to work with a specific industry that we can know a lot about and not just be a master of none, right? Jack of all trades, master of none. So I think it's also beat into their heads as they go through dental school from anybody who comes in and speaks to the D3, D4 students and then get out into your own practice is working with a dental specific professional is less time spent with that individual, which means you can go out and go work on your practice. The conversations are more efficient and the structure of the plan is also more efficient because it's very curated to what the practice owner may need.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Really good points. And so we've talked generally how, you help your clients without giving obviously specific details away. Have you got some examples of like ways that you've managed to help your clients?
Yeah, I'll give an example that Brandon talks about all the time because it's a more recent one and it's kind of close to the chest. We were in Charleston, South Carolina. Somerville is probably a 30 minutes outside of Charleston, downtown in the suburbs. And there was a practice that the older dentist had an associate. The dentist kept putting off the plan, kept putting off protecting her business, protecting her income, saving the right amount of money, maximizing the value of the practice. And she started to experience significant health issues in her mid 50s, which was much sooner than anybody expected. And because she didn't plan and she was out of work for an extended period of time, the value of the practice started to dwindle and went from a $2 million practice to 1.5 to 1.2. And the associate came up to the dentist and said, "Hey, I'd love to buy you out. What's the value?" And I think they purchased it for around $1 million. So they lost a chunk of money by not proactively planning for that dentist's future. And so she just had to get out of it. She had significant health issues that no longer allowed her to go back into the practice. And so whenever the associate purchased the practice, came to us and said, "Hey, I do not want to experience that. Like I'm in my 30s now. I don't want to experience that at all. And I would like to be able to transition out of this practice in my 40s. And so Brandon, spoke with that dentist and said, "Hey, let's get you set up properly. Let's make sure that you have, your best people retained. Let's make sure you're protected from all those black swans that your former owner just experienced. And let's save the right amount of money today in taxes that we have to pay. And then let's also save the right amount of money for your retirement whenever you get out or for your next venture. If you want to go into some completely unrelated industry, you have the opportunity funds to be able to go out and do that." And I think that's just our latest example of success. And as simple as it may sound, a lot of these things take time to grow and to cultivate and to customize to the individual that we're working with. So the earlier you can get started on this, I think it's going to be much more advantageous for you. And, we don't just work with the folks who are ready to get out of their business. Like, obviously our perfect client to do an exit plan with is anybody in their, early 50s to late 50s and 60s. But we'll work with the brand new, dentist who just created their practice in their 30s or whatever, so that we can help them make the right decisions along the way. So there's really, I wouldn't say a perfect client for us, but anybody who's a business owner in the dentist world, I think is a great opportunity for us.
Course, man. Yeah, that is a great example of why planning is so important. And we all assume that we as touch wood we'll all be fine, but that there are situations where health and other stuff creeped up on us, and if we haven't got our ducks in a row, gonna stick with the bird theme here. It can have a real big impact on your future, can't it? And that the idea of losing what could have been a $2 million sale almost half price, like great for the associate, but like terrible for the practice owner.
Well, the multiple for a valuation of a dental practice is usually around an average of 70 to 80% of 1 year's gross revenue. So, it's not the most profitable business from a valuation standpoint for selling. It's not, you're not going to get a 5 or 6 multiple of EBITDA or anything like that. It's really like, if you're making, $2 million, you can expect to sell your practice for 1.6, 1.7. And that's before any capital gains or recapture of depreciation and all those things. So you really have to be able to plan early and often to maximize your net check at the end.
Yeah, fantastic, man. That's awesome. And so what are some kind of common, like maybe some mistakes or things that people should avoid when it comes to kind of like tax management and exit planning? Like you mentioned you're certified in exit planning. Like what are some things that people should avoid doing when thinking about that?
Well, I have great relationships with a lot of my clients, CPAs or accountants. And CPAs are excellent at what they do. Their main goal in helping the client is to minimize or reduce their tax burden today without really focusing on, as you kick the tax can down the road, it's only going to grow over time. And so there's only so many Suburbans you can buy and park in the driveway. There's only so much equipment that you can have in your ORs and depreciate those for tax write-offs today. But, are there other ventures that that the business owner can look into from a financial standpoint that helps them save for retirement, helps them reduce their tax burden today, and also helps them have a lot more money to play with either today or in retirement? So like cash balance plans are a great one. Setting up profit sharing and 401k plans. It also incentivizes the employees to stay on because they're able to put more money away. So that's probably the first thing that I would say is, maybe don't purchase that piece of equipment if you don't necessarily need it. Can you get a good life out of the one you currently have? And can you save a lot of money in taxes today while preparing for your future?
Awesome, man. Fantastic. And so one of my favorite questions to ask, it's the question that everyone gets. Based on your experience of being a business owner, and based on your experience of working and helping dental practice owners, what would you say is your number one piece of advice for anyone thinking about buying or starting a dental practice?
That's a great one. I think the first thing you can do is understand the market in which you'd like to buy or start a practice. Is it already congested with a lot of specialists or generalists in your field? Can you maybe start a practice 30 minutes outside of town that's more rural? I know there's a lot of incentives for those that start practices in rural areas. Can you make it woman owned? If you're a male dentist, can you maybe put it in your wife's name? Are you a minority? Can you get some credits from the government for, having it set up a specific way? Obviously, using the system to your advantage, but doing it in the right way. And then, do you know how to best value that practice? And do you know the key performance indicators of how you can continue to grow the practice in the right direction? Again, always going back to looking at things from the end in mind. So, are you making the right decisions today? Do you know how it impacts your future? And I think the very next piece should be, what's the culture and the mission that I'm trying to establish within my practice? Because you have to take care of your employees as best as possible first, because if you don't have happy employees, your patient base is going to decline. And then do you have a good system in place to be able to retain the patients you do have so that you're not a leaky bucket? You don't have all these patients coming out of the back end as you're trying to get new ones in the front end. So what's your retention strategy for your patients, and what's your retention strategy for your best folks?
Awesome, man. Fantastic advice. I love the fact that you kind of go beyond just like, you are kind of thinking about everything, like not just like the individual's finances, but like, you're seeing the practice as part of their assets, and like you're kind of giving them advice on like how to best protect that as well. So I like how holistic it is. So that's awesome, man. Fantastic.
Thank you. And if you think about it, a business is just really one line item on your personal balance sheet. And it's the greatest
Mm.
asset on your balance sheet because it does provide all your income and give you the ability to do all the things that you like to do each day. But again, it's one thing. So you have to be well-rounded. You have to look at, your retirement assets, your investable assets, your savings, your cash flow, your protection, and how are you utilizing or leveraging any liabilities that you owe as well. It's just being well-rounded and understanding how everything impacts each other from a comprehensive perspective.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Thanks, Stephen. And so anyone who's listening right now, if they're interested in protecting their assets and planning for their exit, how can they reach you?
A couple ways. We have a website, Bluewater Dental Advisors.com. There's our story on there. There's a really great opportunity for any dentist or anybody in the dental field to get CE credits as well by watching our 30-minute video themed around the 3 doors of exit, the pros and cons of each, and how to maximize your proceeds at sale. And then we also have a 9-video series about 4 minutes long each about the different concepts that we talk about. So it gives you a really good picture of how we help in the conversations that we have. It's hard to jump right into bed with a financial advisor, because number one, I understand it's scary. Like, it's scary to go to the dentist. It's also scary to talk to someone about your finances because most people have their head in the sand. But if you have a good understanding and knowledge of what the advisor you're getting ready to talk to does in their process, you're much more comfortable to kind of unload and say, here's my pain point. Here are the things I want to accomplish. How can you help me with that? And it just allows for a much more efficient use of their time. So I would say go in there to the media page of our website, bluewaterdentaladvisors.com, get a good understanding for it, get a free hour of CE credit. Also, there's an offer there after you're finished with the 10-question quiz to get credit. You can get an informal evaluation of your practice, and we're happy to review it with you on a 15-minute call. And if you get any value out of that and you want to know our process and how we can work with you, we're happy to do that too.
Awesome, man. That's fantastic. I love the idea of offering some CE credit. That's fantastic. Might have to pinch that.
Try to offer as much value up front as we can, man.
Awesome, man. Perfect. Well, Stephen, thank you so much for being on today. I've learned a lot. Like, I probably need to brush up on my financial advice, my own finances. So thank you for that. I'm sure anyone listening has found a great use. Do get in touch with Stephen if you are, you're either thinking about buying a practice, or you've just bought a practice, or you're well established. But yeah, the thing that's kind of stuck with me is that planning with the end in mind. Let's plan now so that we can have the futures that we want later. So yeah, Stephen, thank you again, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
It's been a pleasure, man. Thanks so much.
Cheers, man.